Well, from two-time county championship winner to three-time county championship winner, Gareth Batty. Nobody's ever started their county championship coaching career this way, Bats. Three on the bounce. Absolutely brilliant. Many congratulations. Many people tipped you for it, and you did start as favourites. Did you feel like there was any weight of expectation? Did you feel like favourites throughout the season?
I think it's something, without sounding arrogant or silly, it's kind of part and parcel of being at Surrey. Even if we have a good squad or we have a bad squad, people expect at the start of a season, because they big you up to fail most of the time. We're sort of we're loved to be hated, shall we say? So the weight of expectation, no, I wouldn't say so. I think it's what you put on yourself most of the time. We had an inner drive as a group, one, to get better, but two, to probably play a bit better than the previous year. And I think for large parts, we kind of did that. So it wasn't until the end that we had a bit of a blip. But I thought we're pretty solid all year. So I wouldn't say it was overpowering by any stretch, no.
So we get I got a lot of comments about, they get the most money, so they've got the best players, and they do yada, 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 and everything goes. But I mean, in 2001, I think I remember playing at Surrey. Surrey were bottom of the second division, and they had the same money as anybody, more money than anybody else now. And I look at that team that you've got, and I look at the likes of Don Sibley and Rory Burns and one or two others who have probably had their international careers. What keeps them motivated to be the best they possibly can? Because and you've seen a lot of sort of county cricket, that when players come out of England, there's a drop off in their career. But actually, with these two, they're probably are the better players now than when they played for England.
I think that's for them to answer. My personal opinion is absolutely yes. Because you can take a step back out of the limelight at times and get some work done. I think the reason why players are still thriving and getting better is because everybody at the club, certainly on the professional cricket staff, is trying to improve on a daily basis, which it calms down that top 2 inches that we talk about, because I'm yet to meet somebody where if they feel like they're improving, they're not feeling in a better place mentally, and obviously they go out and enjoy their cricket a bit more. But I think anybody that professes themselves to know the game and study the game, I challenge them to have a look at Dom Sibley's movements and have a look at Rory Burns' movements. Absolute stark contrast to as they finish their last international game.
But I'm not going to have time to ask you all these questions, so I'm just going to throw 3 at you, and you can choose. So there are a lot of I guess unheralded players who don't receive the praise that they deserve. Jordan Clark, Ryan Patel come to mind. I mean, they seem to have very, very consistent seasons. Surrey have produced more England players in the last 6 years than any other county. And the other question I have for you is, if you've got a small squad, if you've got 15 players, then it's a small pack to shuffle as a county, and there isn't really a great deal of sort of tactical. You need to rely on the physiotherapists, and you just try and get the same guys. When you've got a big pack, and people say like, oh yeah, sorry, you've got lots of money and a big squad and all these big players, but I think that probably takes more coaching. And when you've got a big pack to shuffle, you've got to get it right. I mean, there's no substitutes.
There's certainly more. All professional sports people have an ego. There's more egos kicking about because there's more people. So managing that on a daily basis is not easy. Giving people the game time also is not easy. You mentioned Ryan Patel there. He sat on his hands for a good few rounds of championship cricket, but when he's played, wow, he's improved so much in the last 3 years, again with his movement pattern. Anybody that professes to know the game, watch these guys, watch the videos, watch the stream. You will see that they are getting better by the day. And that's because of the work behind the scenes. So again, it's kind of the environment is trying to manage a here and now expectation, because everybody's trying to get better, which hopefully means the odd game that they do miss, when they do play, they put up in lights. And it's really nice that you mentioned Ryan. Jordan Clark, it's a simple one for me. If you look at his numbers in the last 3 years, and I know that he would have been on England's radar, he's the best, most consistent all-rounder in domestic cricket. I see that on a daily basis. he's a rock for our group. So it's nice that, again, somebody that hasn't played international cricket is getting some plaudits. But I think it's the group that keeps driving it. I hope the staff keep driving it, but it's just that will to try and be that little bit better every single day, which again, it just keeps you in the moment. So the odd game that you miss, or the guy that goes away from international cricket wants to come back because the environment that hopefully we're creating daily is a good one, and they feel as though they can play the best cricket. That's what we're trying to achieve, and we're certainly trying to produce as many players for England as possible. We're never going to complain about that. Maybe the odd person at the club would. I'm certainly not going to, and I know the players aren't. We want our boys to shoot for the stars, shoot for your dreams. This is hopefully where they can come true. But the one thing we insist on is you buy into the group, you buy into the team, and you buy into some hard work. And we're pretty confident that most people get to the place that they want to.
A player that has come back from international cricket, and you might have to give him a little bit of rebuilding. He's a confident lad anyway, as Dan Lawrence. What do you make of his treatment over the course of the 3 Test matches, going to having to go and open when he's not used to that? And how is Dan now? Because that linens it when he finished at the Oval looked as though there was a lad a little bit sort of lost in the mind when he came off, when he had to run down the wicket and try to smash it out of the park. I felt for him. I really did. As a former England cricketer, I felt for him, because I think there was some questions asked of him that probably shouldn't have been asked of him, especially with the opening batting type of player that we tried to get him to be. But where's he going to be? Where's his headspace at now, not going to Pakistan? And how rebuilding is Surrey going to have with Dan?
I think the hows and the wherefores and what happened is not my responsibility to talk about. That's somebody else's job. So I'm going to keep my professional cap on with that. But we certainly have a plan for Dan moving forward. We genuinely see him as a genuine all-rounder. The start of the season, he bowled magnificently well. He gets that cut like a Nathan Lyon gets cut through the air in towards the hip, the left hip of a right-handed batsman. It's the new modern way of bowling off spin. You get good shape over the ball through the air, but you get more spin than a traditional square spin. I truly believe we have a genuine all-rounder there. There will be, again, I go back to the videos, the people that want to jump on and say, oh, but he's a bit ungainly and he looks a bit this and looks a bit that. Okay, so you're telling me that Matthias Muralitharan looked the MCC coaching man? Absolutely not, and he's the best finger spinner that there ever has been. So I'm not suggesting for a second he's in that sort of ranking, but it's okay to be unique as long as we get our power through the ball and as long as we deliver a wonderful outcome, which I think he can. We have a plan for how we're just going to do a bit of reset with the batting. It was a very tough ask to go from more a middle order player to going open in the innings in international cricket, particularly in a team where the expectation is driven that you go out and smack the ball to all parts. It's not quite as easy as that. So I think that can be difficult for certain players in different environments. But you touched on it, in running down the wicket and finishing, trying to whoop it out the ground. We'd say, okay, if you thought that was on, do it, but let's do it a bit better next time. Let's concentrate on how you're going to be in a better position to smack the guy over mid-off or extra cover. It's more of a learning stroke. It's your career. We're going to work with you to get the end result, as opposed to just looking at the outcome and possibly guillotining and that sort of thing. I think we have a wonderful cricketer still for the future. There's a bit of rebuilding to go on, of course. Anybody that has played international cricket and then finds himself out of it, it's not a particularly easy process, but you can bet your bottom dollar we're there for him, and he'll come flying out of the traps next year. Make no mistake about that.
Very good.
So I want to ask you about two more players. Another Dan Worrell, 52 wickets in the championship. He said that he's very much open to being available for England when he qualifies. So we'd have an Aussie vying for a place in the England team. And the other person I wanted to ask you about is Gareth Batty. How have you been? Because it's a massive, massive job. And I have to say that possibly your only weakness that I'm aware of is that you don't delegate very well. So, from the academy, the late nights, the early mornings, you have a young family. It's been, I'm sure, 3 very, very hard hands-on years. Are you? I mean, hopefully you're going to go and sit on a Spanish island for a couple of weeks, or take the girls away. But how are you placed for well, carrying on, I suppose, on behalf of, I'm asking on behalf of Surrey fans.
No, look, I'm not going to dilute what the players have done on the field and start harping on about how difficult it might be throwing balls and doing this and doing that. You know what you're signing up to. I was very aware of the workload. I'm pretty confident. There's only a select few that are aware of it around the traps and even at Surrey, which that's fine. You don't do it for the extra bit. You do it because of the here and now, and hopefully you can help somebody achieve what they want to achieve in the game, and that's where you get the biggest kick from. The boys lifting the trophy this week, that's for them. That's not for me. That's not a staff thing. That's players. Players are the ones that do all the hard work. You just hope that there's a few lads with a decent sized wallet. They buy you a beer and just say thanks for chugging the balls and thanks for being around when you needed. But I'm certainly not going to be that man that makes it about me. It isn't about me. I think coaching is a vocation. I think it's a life choice that you're investing in other people. With that investment now, there's 3 girls at home that need some investment from daddy and a husband, which they will get tenfold in the next month or so. But I think rather than it finish on me, I think the finishing bit from that little bit is Dan Worrell. I said in year 1 in this job, he's the best signing I've ever seen at the club, which a lot of people, and you guys know me well enough to know that I make a stupid statement every now and again. I think it's backed up over 3 seasons. He's consistently the best bowler in the country. Well, best bowler playing domestic cricket all the time. I'm certainly not belittling anything Jimmy and Brody and what have you in the previous 2 years, but he's the best signing at the club, not just for what he does on the field, which everybody knows is magnificent and you can watch it, but he's an incredible man off the field around a group. There's some young players who hang on every word and he helps them through good times and bad times. But he's a man that we will be hanging our hat on for a little period. And, if England go that way, good luck to him. Shooting for the stars, isn't it?
Shooting for the stars. That's from a man who makes stupid comments all the time on this show. Congratulations. It was a brilliant year. I mean, what you've done along with Stewie, you didn't mention Stewie. And obviously we were at the funeral of Graham Thorpe not long ago, somebody who is dear to our hearts and to Surrey's. Probably a word on Stewie, a bit on Thorpe, and what's going to drive to make Surrey number 4 in a row next year.
Yeah, it was incredibly sad. I couldn't get to the wake because my little one was having an operation, so I went up to town. But the funeral was incredibly fitting for a man that's touched so many people, and the people that love him were there, which was a wonderful thing. And loads of people there, like
No.
He's very much in our hearts. There were a good few of the boys there, and the younger players. They may not have been at that moment, but they certainly know what Thorpe did and achieved. But going on to Stewie, I mean, I made a statement the other day that there is no person in the world cricket internationally in any country that can do what he does here. You have to know the club intimately, which he does. He's been around it since he was a boy. You have to have had the wonderful, glorious career that he had. And you have to keep wanting to go to the well. This is a bit that people forget. He's done the job for 11 years. The hard bit is going to the well every day. The hard bit is doing the hours that nobody will ever see. If we had hours in lieu, we won't work for 10 years. Stewie, I'd probably not work for 3 or 4 years. But and that's the bit that goes unmissed. And I think that is the greatest and hopefully the biggest compliment from somebody that gets in the trenches with the great Alex Stewart, that he really does wear his heart on his sleeve and gets the work done and the job done. He's luckily, I don't think he's going anywhere, but he's just not going to be full time anymore. So we'll be lucky enough to still have him around, and a few people will have to fill in some spaces. But next year, we've already started the planning. It's you have to plan in advance. We have to evolve our structures. We have to evolve our performance levels. Very lucky that there's a lot of people that have opened their door to conversations. I speak to a few Premier League managers. I speak to people in baseball now. We're trying to get information. We're trying to get a different movement pattern that isn't just cricket orientated to try and make people better. And watch out, we've got a couple of young kids who are going to hopefully burst onto the scene in the next couple of years. And that is our job, to keep producing the next cabs for England, but also keep winning, which is no mean feat. And, some people say that's a little bit arrogant, but kind of our job. And if we're not doing that, I'll get sacked. And that's cool. I can live with that. But no, we're shooting for the stars. It hurt how badly we lost in the T20 stuff. We'd done some really good stuff, and then we fell at the final hurdle. There's a real drive within the group to do better in that, and we want to go again in the championship. We have a squad that is capable of doing it. Now we've got to do the process, put the things in place, have some fun along the way, and get some hard work done. And it starts, let's be honest, starts tomorrow at training.
Finally from me, but short one. What would you have said if somebody said to you 3 years ago, Ollie Pope will captain the England Test team within 3 years? Did you ever think of him as captaincy material, and how do you think he did?
It was somebody as a young man here that we earmarked. That's not because he's just been England captain. He's got maturity for him, for a very young man. I think the thing that Pope will find the hardest with captaincy is that semi-ruthless edge. Harmy will talk about Nasser's ruthless edge, and then Varney maybe just having a softer touch. Pope needs to find, because he's such a nice bloke, he's the nicest fella in the world. At some point, when the ultimate leader out there has to be some point where it's kind of like, here we go, no more Mr. Nice Guy, and that will be the thing that he finds the hardest. But tactically, the boys will always play for him. That is for sure. He's well loved around any team that he plays in. I personally think, it could be the one for the future. And he's got one of the best people to be bouncing ideas off, not just in Ben Stokes, who's obviously a great leader, but I think Joe Root, did it for a very long time. The similar types of people, the similar types of players, nicest men in the world, and maybe he can glean some information to have that sort of consistency with his captaincy. It's exciting times for him.
Yeah, and it's hard. But it's a question more of a statement. It's hard when you're not captain full time. It's not your team. You've not got 4.5 years at it, like Nasser had it, like Varney had it, then Straussy had it, and then you've got to walk in the dressing room and try and follow Ben Stokes. How on earth are you going to do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of impossible. I thought he played it really well.
Very good well.
I only sort of loosely follow the boys when they go off to the big time with England. I'm always there if it doesn't go so well. But boys get 100. They don't get a message from me. They don't need me barraging their inbox. If it's not going so well, they'll get a message. But I did read some comments he made, and he was saying that this is still Stokes' team. I thought that was incredibly intelligent. I thought it was incredibly well thought out, because he was obviously going to do things his way out there. But it bought him some time to make some decisions, because everybody was still thinking it's Stokes' thing. But we all know how captaincy works. Stokesy can't be out there between the hours of play. So, every good decision he got right. Pope did brilliantly well. All the bad decisions, Stokesy was managing him from off the field.
On that note, Bats, we need to thank you very much indeed for your time, which is extremely valuable. And in the nicest possible way, I hope you keep it to yourself, all your time to yourself and your family in another week or so's time when the season's over. But congratulations and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, man.
Congrats, pal.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.